Baron sitting down with Candace, absolutely incredible. Let's jump over to the clip. Listen to this.
Something else that just struck me as odd, and I don't mean to make people go crazy about this, but when they had AmFest and Erika came out, they played audio of Charlie saying that he wanted Erika to take over for him. And I was curious about that, because if you have the audio, shouldn't you have the video? Am I crazy for thinking should you have the video?
Well, in an AI world, can we trust that even if you had the video, because it is so contradictory to everything he said, every time they're in a room together, every podcast, when it comes up to a woman working outside the home with young kids, his basic opinion is, at all costs, please don't do it if you don't have to.
Mm-hmm. But here's what's interesting is that their story has been that if anything ever happened to him, he wanted Erika to take over. And let me tell you why that suddenly strikes me as odd. Because in that scenario, your first instinct is who's going to look after the kids.
Right.
So you're saying that what he wanted was for, if anything happens to me, I want my kids to essentially become orphans, because I know, Charlie knew what it took to run an organization of that size. He was constantly on the road. We saw that just when I put together his calendar of everywhere he was, he was constantly, it's nonstop hours, nonstop flying all over the nation. So he's like, if anything happens to me, I want my children to have not just one parent lost, but two parents lost, and to essentially be raised by nannies. I'll tell you when it really struck me as odd, and I've never revealed this before. I didn't think one way or the other about this statement about Erika taking over. I thought, and I still do believe that at some point in the past, he would have said, oh, she's super smart. And he used to say, oh, she's really smart, whatever, great compliments about her. But it struck me as odd because when I sat down with Erika, I had said nothing on my show about that statement. And they had prepared a response to a question that I wasn't asking, meaning that they had a physical printout of a transcript. And they said, well, this is the transcript of when Charlie said, here's what he said about wanting Erika to take over. And I sort of waved away. I was like, this isn't something that I brought up on my show. Yeah. I don't need proof of something that a claim that I haven't made. And then suddenly I went, wait a second, that's kind of weird that you're bringing proof for a claim that I didn't make, which means it's on your mind, not my mind. And so then I asked a little bit more about it. And I said, well, when did he say this? And they said, in August. That's kind of interesting.
Wow.
And I said, was this at Bill Ackman's house? And they said, no, it was at a donor retreat in Aspen. So I hunt down this donor retreat in Aspen and figured when it happened, and I have it on my timeline somewhere. I'll give it up. But this donor retreat in Aspen happens, and I figure out who's at this donor retreat in Aspen, and I reach out, and then they alleged that this was a question that somebody had asked and said, what happens if you die? Which is kind of a weird question. A lot of donor events, nobody's like, hey, what happens when you die? It's pretty, it's a pretty morbid thought, and then he die a month later. And I asked this person to just, hey, do you remember this this happening? Person said, no. We talked to another person that was at this Aspen event. And I said, hey, this is allegedly the event where this question was asked. And I'm now able to figure out also who the donor was that asked, by the way. I'll have that information for you guys soon. But I'd like to reach out to that donor. Do you remember Charlie saying that if anything happens to me, I want Erika to take over? I got another no. Very small group, exclusive group of donors in Aspen in August. And thus far, 2 do not remember Charlie saying that.
Very weird. Okay, so that's very, very odd because, again, in regular Turning Point fashion, and shout out to Wolves in Finance when I say allegedly, maybe, perhaps, their stories don't make any sense, right? They always have like 3 stories. Somehow. It seems all the time like Andrew's like, well, I'm the spokesperson, so I'm going to say this, and that's going to be the story. But it seems like Andrew doesn't tell everybody. It doesn't say, hey, everybody, I released this statement. This is what we're going with, right? And everybody's like, well, they take notes and everything. You know what I mean? They take notes. They get their mints out. You know, they're writing it down. Just push their detonators aside. What? That's no, I'm joking. So Andrew says one thing. And then it seems like someone else is just doing an interview like Erika, and then she says another thing. And then someone else is like on a podcast, and they're like, I'll just say a thing. And that's what it seems to be. So I'll show you this first one here. Let me just jump to this one. So here you go. Like, check this out. Check this out.
A year ago, we have decades worth of my husband's voice. We have unused material from speeches that he's had that no one has heard yet. We have Sunday specials lined up to the brim because my husband was so intentional about making sure that there was enough content Always.
He made sure we recorded everything.
Everything.
He would not do a speech unless we could get the video and the
100%.
Just to speak to what Candace was talking about at the very beginning, video, audio. Andrew himself is saying he made sure to record everything. Both of them are agreeing, and that's the magnificent Mikey McCoy. If you'd like, you could bow your head in silence. That is the magnificent Mikey McCoy in all of his splendor. Why isn't he sitting in the center seat? How dare they disrespect Mikey like that? Anyway, it turns out that he did want to record everything. So Candace is right in thinking, like, why is there no audio? Or sorry, why is there audio and no video? What kind of thing is that? I mean, it's not out of the realm of, listen, we live in a world where you can easily just take someone's voice and make them say whatever. You just can. And you can do it really, really well. So, I mean, that's not even up for argument. And did they do that? I think they would. You know why also? I forget, I couldn't find the clip, but Andrew Colvette even said that they were approached to make an AI Charlie. Okay? So they were actually considering at one point making an AI hologram avatar of Charlie and have him say things and wave and all of that stuff. That was actually on the table for them at some point. Now, I remember Andrew saying this in a podcast. Can't remember which one. So I'm kind of doing what they are. I don't got any audio. I don't got any video. Just putting it out there. Let's go back to Candace and Baron talking about this whole thing, though. Let's keep going.
If you're 31 years old and someone asks you what's going to happen when you die, those people intend to harm you. I cannot look at that innocently.
To the contrary, what one person remembers, which sounds much more sensible, was that during Charlie's conversation, he's like saying how Turning Point's going to grow. Mm-hmm. And they're asking, how are you going to do all of this? Like, you're one person. And because he was kind of building a vision, which is what you do at these like donor events. It's like, here's where we are. Here's what we want to do. Here's what we're building out. That was Charlie. And apparently Charlie gave some total common sense answer of like, well, that's why I hire people under us to run this, and that. But nobody remembers. Thus far, I've only asked 2 people, him saying, if I die, I want Erika to take over for me.
It would have been so out of character because again, every public statement he's ever made, that has not been his position. Every single public statement. You go look at his personal podcast, you go look at interviews he sat in on other people's podcasts or radio shows. They talk all the time about, you know, a woman working outside the home. He's like, hey, you know, when they have young kids, it's just probably not the best idea, not the right time to do it. Raise your kids. It would be so out of character for him to say, yeah, I actually want her to take over my 300-day-a-year travel schedule.
Mm-hmm. And he's also, at that time, don't forget, being massively pressured by donors, right? He's being pressured and yelled at by donors. He's got, the Bill Ackman thing happens. Seth Dillon's pressuring him. He's getting people that are saying they're taking millions away from him. And his perspective was, I want my wife to endure this while my children are left absent with no parents. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying thus far, trying to confirm the story, I can't. And it's bothering me because the obvious thing is they should release the video. Because if you're not, you hooked him up for audio? You're just like, oh, we're just hooking you up for audio for the speech. It's like, if you got audio, you got visual. And I'm told that there was audio and visual at that event in the
Hamptons. And that would make sense because Charlie wanted to record everything. Erika, the beautiful, majestic Mikey McCoy, and Andrew all verified that he recorded everything. That's what he wanted. He wanted no loss of content whatsoever. And even at a donor event, it would make sense to do that. It would make perfect sense because at the same time, you know, it's going to be Charlie on stage. Maybe it's a fireside type of event where you're kind of sitting amongst the audience, same level, eye level, but camera would still be on Charlie, just like always with every event that he does, having him answer questions so people could have that content. So he could put it up on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, all the things that Charlie loved to do so people would understand, young people would understand exactly where he was at with everything. That's how he moved the needle so much when it came to young voters. By doing that type of thing. Also, to what Baron said, there is, again, another podcast where it's Erika and Charlie, and they're actually not having a disagreement, but you can see there's a little bit of tension. They're talking about getting they're talking about getting married young and versus getting married a little older. And Erika did get married a little older. She was in her 30s when they got married. So Charlie's like, do it young. That just is what makes sense. And Erika kind of chimes in like, yeah, but you can do it later in life, and if that's what it takes, like, it's completely fine. And Charlie was kind of like, I don't know about that. It was a very weird little thing that they had there. So again, it just speaks to his character. Why would he want that type of thing for his kids and for his wife? It just doesn't make any sense. Let's keep going.
Hamptons.
Well, I'll say this. I don't believe audio and visual anymore. I need someone in the room to confirm it happened.
Yeah.
The AI revolution, I see videos of me people put up and say, oh, I'm like, I didn't say that. That's not me.
Yeah.
And it's usually humorous. It's funny. But somebody would look at that and say, oh, Baron Coleman said this. I'm like, no, I actually never said that.
I'm going to keep going through people at this event and seeing if someone will confirm that on record. But I do think it would be incumbent upon them to release it. It could have happened.
Was it raised in New York at the Hamptons retreat?
It was.
Okay.
I was told by Erika it was Aspen.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I was under the impression what happens when you die question was out of the Hamptons.
Yeah, because people knew it was August, and so nobody actually knew that there was this donor event that happened in Aspen, August 15th to 17th. So less than a month before he died.
Less than a month before he passes away. So they're asking him. Keep in mind the timeline. They're asking him a month after he gets berated. Directly after Tucker Carlson gives his speech by a donor, that this is Tucker Carlson's words, that comes up to him and says, you can't do this. How dare you do this? They're in Charlie's face doing this, right? I imagine they're like this, a Ben Shapiro type, you know what I mean? Just 4.5 feet lower. Like, hey, you can't do this. Get back to work, Charlie Kirk. Get back to work. I'm joking. But and then also what happens after that in July is Dave Smith and Josh Hammer. They sit down. Then Charlie in August, and it's actually funny enough, early August, Charlie sits down with Megyn Kelly. He says, I'm getting messages who people are questioning my moral character, calling me anti-Philadelphia. I'm getting these messages to my phone. They're saying that I'm not on their side. He's like, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm an American. That's what's happening around August 8th with Megyn Kelly, maybe recorded August 7th. Then we're saying that there was this event that nobody knew about, August 15th, and they're asking him what's going to happen if he dies. So he's getting berated, messages, all this stuff, pressure, says, hey, because within this time, at some point, he releases that group message he releases that text message in that group chat and says, I'm forced to leave the pro-Philadelphia cause. I will not be bullied. Let these donors go. Who cares? And I'm thinking about having Candace back. Somewhere within that timeline I just told you, Charlie says that on text. And then on August 15th, they ask him, what are you going to do? I think she said 15th to 17th type of thing. They ask him, what are you going to do? What happens to Turning Point if you die? So they're pretty much just like, do you got a plan? Do you have a plan in place? Because I've been hearing things about you. Who takes over if you die? Just a question. I just want to know, who is it? Who is it? Is it Erika? I think it'd be great. I mean, you remember her mom, they're connected, what I mean? They're mobsters, and, Mortal Kombat Ultra, I think she'd be a good, we could just wipe her memory. I think, is it Erika? They're all excited, Anyway.